Welcome back to another by request. Our attempt at doing a daily by request from everybody. Today is Texas Rangers cap day for no apparent reason. Anyways, Michael asked if I would show how the 2-to-1 works and the 4-to-1 and the rake sweep hook works on the gearbox. The 2-to-1 is what lowers and raises the machine. It goes through 2 cycles for every cycle of the pin setter. It does 2 rotations. That's why it's called a 2-to-1. 4-to-1 is what controls the rake sweep. It does 4 rotations per cycle. So let me show you a little bit more how they work, and hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense to you. All right, this is the 2-to-1. This is your short link. This is your deck lowering link. This is what brings the machine down when it goes all the way down to the ground to set pins. This is what is used when the machine just goes down on a strike standing pin cycle in first ball. And the reason it doesn't come down on second ball is you have a deck holding hook right up there that'll hold the pin setter deck from going down on the first part of the cycle on the 2-to-1 cycle here. Let me show you. I'll run it through a first ball cycle here, and you can watch how it works here. It's a standing pin cycle. So you'll see it come off this hook, and this hook will take over for both cycles of the 2-to-1. Here we go. So now it's riding this short hook, long one takes over, short one goes back in. Now they're both being held by the deck holding hook, which I talked about right there. So right now the weight is off the 2-to-1 completely. I'm going to finish the cycle here, and you'll see how the long link will come take the weight off the deck holding hook, and it'll ride the long link all the way down to set pins. Here we go. We're at 90 degrees now. At 180 it'll take the weight off right there, off the deck holding hook. There you go. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate the strike cycle. The beginning of the cycle, you'll see the short hook here drop down and take over. So it's a smaller circumference, so the deck doesn't go down as far, but at 180, it'll take the weight off of it, and then this hook will lift out of the way. The long link will take over and run the second half of the cycle, which will cause the machine to go all the way down. I'm going to run through a strike cycle here, and you'll see it do both. Short stroke and then long stroke. Here we go. Short stroke detects a strike. 180 lift hooks out of the way. Long one takes over, machine goes all the way down and sets pins. Now this is the 4-to-1 on the side of the detector. This does nothing but controls the rake sweep. It does 4 rotations per cycle. Let me run it through one and you'll see what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go and trip the machine here, so when I turn it on, we're going to start. You'll go through 4 turns per cycle. Here we go. 1 cycle. 90, 180, 270, and 360 or 0. Then on second ball, it does an extra 90 degrees because of the 90 degree over travel and advances past 0. All right, this is your rake sweep hook. That is the rake crank rod there and the hook that it catches. It basically lifts out of the way on the first cycle, drops down, and on the second pass on the 4-to-1, this will actually catch that and bring it back, and then the rake comes forward because it's spring-loaded, because it's got these 2 big old spring tubes on the side here. Big old compressed springs. There's 2 of them on the Model A. Some of them have 2, some have 1. Then the newer ones only have the 1, but the spring tubes kind of help support the deck when it goes all the way down to lift it back up, so it's not having to lift all that weight, and also helps the rake go forward, which is what makes the rake go forward. I'm going to run it through a cycle here, and you'll see on this that it'll miss on the first pass, it'll catch on the second pass, release on the third pass. Here we go. Hooks, misses, drops, catches, it sweeps, Releases on the third, misses on the fourth. When you got the 90-degree over travel, yeah, it's ready to sweep on the next as soon as it cycles. Now the rake sweep hook right there is controlled by this little rod right here that goes down to your detector, the brain of the Brunswick pin setter. The Brunswick pin setter is 100% mechanical. It has switches and stuff on it, but as far as the main operation of the pin setter, this brain puts the machine into standing pin, strike cycle, out of range on first ball, and then we'll put the machine on second ball. It kind of choreographs like a symphony with the deck holding hook. The 2-to-1, the 2-to-1 is controlled off the detector. The rake sweep hook is controlled off the detector. If it does standing pin cycle or a strike cycle or an out of range cycle, all controlled off the detector. You've got one motor on the pin setter, and you could plug that motor into a regular outlet and run it with nothing else hooked up on this machine. The pin setter would function just fine. You wouldn't have all the 1-2 ball lights and things like that, but because that's what that electrical box is there. It has all the different transformers and stuff for the different power outputs and switches and everything else. But if you plug this motor in on the pin setter and just cycle the machine, it would do everything: first ball, second ball, strike, cycle, standing pin, out of range, everything. So we're looking at the 90-degree over travel. You have that little silver link there in the middle that's up against that roller. See a little hook coming from below? That's the special link that you hook up to your detector that'll give you the 90-degree over travel. Then you got the little spring up there holding that silver rod up there up against that roller. But the detector will do a 90-degree over travel on a Model A pin setter only. You don't have this on an A2. But on a Model A, if you have that hook hooked up on there, then you get, what it does is advances the machine to 90 degrees on second ball. So whenever you throw the ball, rake comes down immediately instead of having that delayed reaction. Then you get a lot of dead wood and things like that. So on second ball, if you have 90-degree over travel, you see the rake drop and sweep immediately. If you don't have the 90-degree over travel on a Model A pin setter, you hit the cushion, the machine will trip, and it'll be 90 degrees, then the rake drops and rake sweeps. So it just kind of advances the machine 90 degrees to alleviate dead wood, kind of speed things up a little bit. Let me show you how the 90-degree over travel works. It basically, if your machine's on first ball, you click it, the second ball, the gearbox will advance one rotation of the 4-to-1 and go up 90 degrees. Let me show you that. Okay, we are on first ball right now, and when I click it to second ball up there on the detector, you'll see the machine advance 90 degrees. I'll turn it on here. There we go, second ball, trivet, 90 degrees. There you go. Now as soon as you hit the reset button, the rake will drop and sweep. So here we go, I'm going to release it, and engages right there, sweeps. If you watch the detector video that I did a couple of days ago, the detector install, you can see where I put the 90-degree over travel in. I talked about it a little bit more. It took me a while to get it in there, so I didn't put a lot of that on there, but I might show a little bit closer and show you where it's located. But it's on the bottom of the detector. It's a little rod about that long. Got a spring on the end of it. You got to attach it to the detector. Then it's got to hook to the gearbox. So it's not something hooked up at the same time. You have to disconnect it when you take your detector off. So anyways, hopefully, Michael, that shows you how the rake sweep hooks, how the 4-to-1 operates, what it does, how the 2-to-1 operates, as far as just running the different hook selectors. You have the long link and the short link. And on the newer machines, the A2s, they have a Scotch yoke instead of a deck lowering link. And so you don't have this on there, which is the deck lowering link. You have a Scotch yoke instead. It kind of provides a little different method of lowering the deck down a little. You can definitely tell the difference. If you're looking at an A and an A2, one with a Scotch yoke and a lowering link, you can definitely tell the difference if you have the trained eye from up front, but the operation is pretty much the same thing. But this is the lowering link, this on the Model A pin setters. This one's the same on every pin setter now. They had never changed that design at all. And there is a classic reset lever off the Model A's, the Otis Green cast metal reset lever. So anybody's got the newer machines, you wish you had one of these on your machines. They will never break. I was just talking to somebody yesterday who had one crack on him, and his machine was stopping at 270. And I told him, I said, either your bearing failed or it cracked the reset lever, and sure enough, reset lever was cracked. Quick fix though, it's not too hard. Hope the video helps make sense. Keep the requests coming. Thanks for sending them. See you later from the garage.